Agencies Drinking Beer is brought to you by Proposify, software that helps you deliver beautiful proposals in the cloud and close more deals.
Welcome to the 43rd episode of Agencies Drinking Beer. On today's show, we're going to be talking to Floyd Payton. She's going to tell us about her experience hosting a morning radio show and going from that to now an inbound marketer at Kula Partners here in Halifax. Why, hello, Kevin.
So that oil of oregano helped you a bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, that your voice is getting better.
Yeah, our guest who's on today, Floyd, she has a history, or her background's in radio. And I told her I may not be able to do the interview because my voice is shot. I think I have laryngitis. I don't know. I didn't go to a doctor. But she said, try oil of oregano. At least it's given me enough of a voice to do this.
Well, you did a great job.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So this is the first podcast in our new office.
I love the new office.
It's very nice. We should put some photos
Yeah, why don't we? It's a good
on
idea.
the article.
It's a great
so
idea.
people can see. We moved up in the world.
What's nice, too, is we don't have to break down the podcast stuff every time and set it back up.
That's true. We
Just
can
leave
just
it
leave
set
it
up.
all here.
Yep.
I
Quality
know.
will be better.
Good quality.
Yeah.
Good quality.
Yeah.
I can't wait till this laryngitis goes away. Driving me crazy. So anyway, so we just had a little hiring spree. Hired our 13th, well, counting us as the co-founders, 13 people now at Proposify.
Yeah, a year ago, there were 4 of us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Are you sure Ricky
Yep.
didn't start?
We didn't start the summer with everybody.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Been a crazy year. Here we are. Now we have a big enough. We were getting so cramped in that little place in Volta. I think we were probably just gonna like sit on each other's laps all day.
Yeah, it was kind of weird when you were sitting on my lap a few times.
I know.
Yeah.
I said I should go on the bottom. You insisted.
I know. I'm all right. Lost some feeling in my legs, but I'm okay.
From my big booty. Okay, so we're going to very shortly get into our interview with Floyd. And she compared her radio show to Seinfeld in that it was a show about nothing. And, we had a bit of an interview about nothing, but it was also, like Seinfeld, very entertaining.
I think it was.
Yeah. Don't listen to this interview expecting us to go and dig deep into like sales funnel strategies for agency owners or anything. This is keeping it really light. But I love, Floyd's just such a natural wit and just fun to talk to.
She's good to be around.
Anyway, before we get into that, I want to talk about a blog post that I wrote a little while ago. We haven't gotten a chance to really talk about it on the podcast here. Not everybody who listens to this necessarily reads the blog too. But talking about why kids should be taught entrepreneurship early on. Just talking about, what was it that inspired you to be an entrepreneur? You're actually quoted in the article, but at what point maybe you didn't know it at the time, but looking back, was there an experience that made you say like, okay, that's where I got the skills I needed or started getting the skills?
Yeah, you don't consciously, when you're 11 or 12, you don't consciously even know what the word means, entrepreneur. You don't think of it. You just think of logic. Well, I could go continue to dishwash, which I did for, I think it was maybe $3.35 an hour was minimum wage back then. I was 15. And I had been doing a few lawns locally anyways, and I was thinking, then I got a few more, and then I started getting paid better. So let's see, I could do a lawn and make, say, $20 in half an hour, or I could go work for $3.35 an hour as a dishwasher. And so when I got my first job, that's when it really kicked in.
Yeah.
I said, oh my God, why would I work for someone else when I could do this? I continued to keep the job, but because I wanted to follow through and finish my summer job, but I did a bunch of lawns and I built that little business up, and that's kind of where the light bulb went off for me. I think for most people it does. I mean, for you, it was you were delivering newspapers.
Yeah. I got a job when I was like 14 maybe.
Yeah.
I had an older friend who would, I think he was finishing up high school and he was giving up his paper route. And he had it for a long time, but he also had the best games, the best like action figures. And I was like, man, I want that collection.
Yep.
So he did it all with his paper route. So I did it strictly for money. and he gave that over to me. I did it for 3 years throughout junior high and high school. But it was a little different from a job because I had to be very self-motivated.
Exactly.
There's nobody like standing over me. Had to do my own kind of accounting, like figure out how much money customers owed me, how much was coming out of my bank account, whatever was left was profit. Customer service, sales, because I could go out and actually get new customers just by selling door to door. Learned about upselling because some of them wanted me to mow their lawns during the summer.
Nice.
So I could do some cross-selling.
I like that.
So I learned a lot.
Very cool.
And when I went to start working at places like fast food restaurants, it was never the same.
No.
Wanted to be my own boss again.
That's it.
So there you go.
It's that aha moment.
Yeah. And, we talk about this in the blog post a little bit, but I think for the most part, the school system is designed to kind of make people employees, turn kids into employees. I don't know if there's enough support in the school system to teach kids to, follow your dreams, but like literally like just go do, if you see a problem that needs to be solved, do it, figure out a way to make money from it. I don't know if there's enough training in that.
No, we're not spitting out leadership either. It's a conveyor belt system. Absolutely. You're bang on there.
They teach you how to follow the rules.
Yep.
You get better marks the more closely you do exactly what you're told.
Exactly.
And entrepreneurship is all about breaking the rules,
No, it really is. It's I know my son even, we started him really young. I remember when he wanted a Game Boy. He said he had to earn it because it wasn't his birthday, it wasn't Christmas. So he actually went into his room, this is when he was 6, and looked at some toys that he could sell that he wasn't using, some nice Fisher-Price stuff. And he sat out front of the house, we were in the South Shore, and sold enough of his toys to buy a Game Boy. Just about $100.
Wow.
So I think he's got more money in his bank account than I do now. He's 14.
I thought you were going to say your classic expression, more money than God. Camden's got more money than God.
No, I wouldn't say that.
God has a lot of money.
Yeah.
So what are some ways that we can teach entrepreneurship to students? There's actually a great talk that I recommend everybody check out. It's a TED Talk, and Cameron Herold gave that talk, and it was all about his experience growing up. He used to find like old coat hangers and sell them to dry cleaning businesses. He'd buy comic books from poor kids and then like sell them to high kids or rich kids at a higher price. And then kind of the things that he teaches his students. I'm not going to paraphrase it, but one thing that stood out to me about what he teaches his kids is he doesn't have them do chores, because chores are like training them to be employees. You say, you do these chores, you get paid this every 2 weeks or whatever. He has his kids go around the house and try to find something that they think should be done, and then come to him and say, I'll do this for you for X amount of dollars, and then they can negotiate a price if he thinks if it's worth paying for.
That's pretty cool.
And that teaches them more about, finding problems and figuring out how much to charge for them.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
I thought that was cool.
It's a great idea. I'm going to start implementing that.
Yeah, I thought about doing that with my son as well, my oldest. So anyway, I was a good chat. I'm sure we could probably go into more about that, but let's move on to our interview now with Floyd Payton. I'd like to welcome Floyd Payton to the show today. Floyd's done a lot of things during her career, from emceeing over 100 shows, hosting a popular morning radio program, and as a hobby scientist creating skin and healthcare products. Floyd is currently an inbound marketer at Kula Partners here in Halifax. Thank you so much for being on the show, Floyd.
Thanks for having me. I'm still I don't really know what I'm doing or where I am.
You're like seriously profesh, though. I'm intimidated, to be quite honest, because you're like a professional.
Am I? I don't know. I'm sitting here drinking cider in like the early afternoon.
Thank you for sharing your cider with me.
You're very welcome.
This is also a very fitting show to have our first podcast in our new digs with someone
nice.
In person.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can really appreciate it. This is pretty cool.
Yeah,
like
we just
this.
moved into a new space. Pretty happy with it.
Big windows. We saw there's a sex wizard across the road we saw. That was pretty cool too.
Floyd pointed out a creepy building
Yeah, it looks
here.
It's weird.
You thought it was for sex parties. I thought a wizard lived there.
Yeah.
So now it's a sex wizard.
It's a sex wizard. What else could it be?
How do we get invited over?
I'll work on it.
Please do. So yeah, I mean, I've been a fan for a long time. Listen to you every morning on my commute into work.
Thank you.
And you talked about a lot of stuff, but it was just funny shit, like Hollywood Slam.
And you just answered my question that I forgot to ask which was, can I swear on this podcast?
Oh, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, we encourage it. Yeah, and Carmen, I believe one of your bosses over at Kula Partners has been on the show before.
It was Jeff, actually.
Nope.
They both were on? Was Carmen
Jeff
on?
was on the video one we did, but Carmen was on the podcast.
Okay, I wasn't using my context clues. I thought you meant my old show, and actually Jeff was on my old show.
Oh, no, I meant our show. It's about us.
It is about you. I'm sorry. Yes, I did. I checked out both of their interviews. Because
did you?
They sent them to me.
Well, so you would have known then that Carmen dropped a few F-bombs. Maybe our record
Carmen?
For the most.
No.
Yeah.
I do not believe it for a moment.
Yeah, angry old Carmen.
Yeah.
I loved that show with him. But anyway, super happy to have you on. So I'd love to just kind of hear the full story. Like, how did you go from, emceeing, doing a radio show, like what, and now why inbound marketing? What brought you here?
Basically, my whole career has been a series of mistakes on the part of whoever was doing the hiring. That's how I feel. I was in radio. I actually I worked in a law firm for a few years, and then I was going into journalism. I went to King's, took the journalism program there, fell in love with radio, transferred to the radio program in Dartmouth, and got my first job quite quickly, actually, before I finished school. And ended up eventually, after spending a little bit of time out west, back in Halifax. And I always knew kind of that radio wasn't going to be the thing I retired on. I came in the tail end of radio as we know it, terrestrial radio anyway. And I figured it would be a fun thing to do while I was still young and, I don't know, stupid.
What do you mean, the tail end of terrestrial radio? I didn't understand that at all.
Good Lord. I mean, it's certainly not the glory days of radio. People have so many more options now. They tend to use streaming music services. I mean, why wouldn't you when you can pick your own playlist? So the challenge was really to give them a reason to not listen to their iPod. But you see news articles floating around saying that cars are going to be phasing out FM, AM, and FM, and that's the last place people really listen to the radios in their cars on the way to work. So it's definitely changing, and there's a bigger focus now on online, both using online. When you're on a terrestrial radio station, mostly via social media, and then online radio stations. I actually know quite a few FM hosts who have gone to host online shows. I keep saying online like I'm an 80-year-old. The interwebs online.
Online's not too bad. As long as you don't say like the information superhighway or something.
The World Wide Web. So I did that for a while. And then it all came to an end, as it usually does for radio hosts these days. So I got a job in marketing.
Wow.
Yeah, I still have no idea. I think they liked me on Twitter. They brought me in for a series of interviews. I had no idea what I was getting into. I mean, I had an idea, but yeah, I'm still shocked that I got the job. But here I am. My year anniversary is in 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yes.
Happy anniversary.
Almost. Haven't fired me yet. May after this podcast.
Well, we'll see. Let's try to make that happen. So you're doing obviously a lot of content as an inbound marketer. Would you say most of it's written that you do? Like blog writing?
I do a lot of writing. Not always blogging, but definitely writing. A lot of site copywriting, some different formats like ebooks, etc. But yeah, quite a bit of blogging as well. I think I've done probably 10 or 15 blog posts in the last week, maybe. Week to 10 days, yeah. I like doing that stuff.
That's cool. Do you see yourself, you said that a lot of the former MCs, the former radio hosts were transitioning to the online space. Ever see yourself starting your own podcast?
Absolutely not. That was the first thing that I heard after it came out that I was no longer on the radio. I think I probably got 500 messages saying, "What, you should start a podcast." And to each one I said, "No fucking way." No, I don't want to start a podcast because I was kind of disenchanted with the whole thing for a little while there. I got over that pretty quick. But I've been on a lot of podcasts. I do not want to do the work. Honestly, it's a lot of work. It's not just sitting down in front of a mic. Hi, I'm so funny. Here's what I think that's funny this week. There's a lot more to it, and I didn't have the heart to do it.
See, we don't put any of that work in.
No,
we
you
just,
don't. Cool.
We just set up mics and then talk.
You just barf into the microphone. And see
Basically,
what comes out. Cool.
yeah. And then we're shocked if like 3 people listen to it.
Yeah, we edited a bit, but nothing too major.
Yeah.
We don't overly plan this
Like,
podcast.
what would my podcast be about? What would it be about? Honestly, what was my show about? I was the Seinfeld of radio shows. It was about nothing, not a goddamn thing. And I can't do a podcast about nothing. People wouldn't like that. Maybe they would.
Well,
I don't want to.
People love to hear celebrities made fun of.
That's true. There's a lot of that though. You can get celebrity jokes anywhere.
Yeah,
I don't even,
it doesn't have that Floyd flavor to it.
I just had to do it. It was literally like the one thing they insisted on me doing was celebrity gossip. Jeez.
Actually, what I was always amazed about with your show is how you were able to squeeze in so much sexual innuendo on a morning radio program with kids in the car.
Yep.
And probably not. How much hate mail did you get, or how many complaints?
Oh Lord, not a whole lot of complaints. A lot of hate mail, but usually not related to that kind of stuff. The complaints I did get were bizarre. They were bizarre, and we did start running disclaimers.
Yes, I remember that.
I wrote a bunch of disclaimers and said, throw these in, because, I can't keep my mouth shut as much as you want me to. No, we got weird complaints. I got a complaint once. We were talking about a power outage. A guy calls in and goes on this weird ramble about raccoons. So, of course, we play it because it was bizarre. And then he made it like an actual official, not CRTC. I even forget what the regulatory bodies are called now. C something. He made an official complaint that we had played his voice without his permission.
Ooh,
his crazy
it's
raccoon
bad.
tail. Yeah, the complaints were weird.
Oh God, I had a question. In terms of complaints, this
Yeah.
wasn't a question. This is just a story.
Good.
We've got a really big complaint a while ago. Remember that one? Because we sent I think we sent a blog post through, or like an email through to our list, and it had the word fuck in it, but it was starred out. And like we had a customer who apparently is subscribed to one of our newsletters and got this, and he somehow found Kevin's cell number. The guy lives in like Texas, and left, no joke, a 15-minute long voicemail rant. And it was about how like everything we send is full of cussing. And are we a bunch of like...
Come on, you got to use the southern accent.
Okay, so it was like, I don't know what you guys are doing up there in Canada. If you're smoking weed in your offices and screwing your secretaries, I don't know what it is. This is a quote, yeah.
Wow.
Screwing your secretaries all day,
Wow.
cussing in all your emails. I mean, I like your product, but I just can't put up with this. I'm making him sound like Colonel Sanders now.
You kind of sound like the chicken lawyer from, is it Family Guy? I think it's Family Guy. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's
from Futurama. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know either.
You don't know Futurama? It's like
Well,
the best show ever made.
I know it. I just haven't seen them all. Yeah.
That's too bad. You should do that.
I'm going to do that. It's on my
Find
list
it.
on Netflix.
I'm going to leave you a 15-minute voicemail about how you haven't watched Futurama.
But do it in the chicken voice.
I will.
I don't know what you guys are doing.
Wow. Yeah, that's something. What do they think about Canadians down there?
It all depends where you
We're
are.
a bunch of weed smoking sex wizards, I guess.
That's the word of the day for all of our listeners in
In Austin?
Texas, everywhere. We all love you.
Yeah.
It was only that guy
It's just,
who was crazy.
just the one guy.
Wasn't all Texans.
Hashtag not all Texans. Gotcha.
Yeah. So one thing I'd like to hear about is this. I've seen on your Twitter profile and all everywhere that you're a hobby scientist.
I am a hobby scientist. That is true.
What
I love
does that
science.
mean?
I love science. Well, I have created a few different products. My husband owns 3 barbershops in the city, and when he was opening the first one, he was looking at bringing in beard oil, which is quite a popular product now. And I've been making some of my own stuff for a while because I've got a lot of stupid allergies and stuff that's in a lot of products. So I learned how to make some of my own stuff. So I'm looking at this beard oil, ridiculously expensive to bring in. Thinking I can make that. So for a couple of weeks, our house was just bottles of different oil blends, like different essential oil scent blends everywhere. It smelled awful. Like all of them together just smelled terrible. And I made the beard oil, and we sell quite a bit of that still. 2 years later, and then I expanded a bit. When I lost my job in radio, I was like, well, you know what? I like science, and I got to do something, or I'm going to go insane and get really fat sitting here watching Futurama on Netflix. So I came up with some more products. I started doing some women's products, and I still do when I can, and make some of the guys' stuff. I've had to bring on some proteges because I have a job, but.
I'm just picturing you as like Walter White from Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
like using your chemistry knowledge to build a product.
Goggles. I have goggles that I wear and a mask.
Wow. Do you have a Jesse?
Well, actually, we've just started training a Jesse. So, yeah, kind of.
It's awesome.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
To call you Mrs. P?
I'm going to insist on that now, actually. Yeah, good idea.
Nice. That's cool. So you're like into chemistry and you're just like, I can make this oil. Did you have to read about that, or
no, not really. I've made my own face oils for several years, so I knew.
So you're just like 2 parts hydrogen and 3.
Well, I mean, it's not like laboratory chemistry. Like I'm not going to blow anything up. Actually, no. I make shave soap. I've made shave soap, and that does have a risk of potential dismemberment. But
do you find like local, neighborhood cats to test on, or do you test on people?
I just test on myself. That's it. Just on me. Yeah.
So if you get dismembered, you're the only one that's
no big deal,
affected.
Yeah.
So okay, you can dismember people with this soap.
I've got like 25 kilograms of lye in my apartment. Like, you don't want to mess with me.
See, now I'm thinking about Breaking Bad again. You're disposing of bodies with this.
I am.
In a bathtub.
Yeah, probably.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Well, this will be used as evidence.
I hope it is.
Yeah. Awesome. So you do that on the side, and you're...
Yeah, well, a lot less than I did before. I just find, with having a full-time job and trying to do other things that aren't just a full-time job, it's harder to be able to make stuff all the time because it's quite time-consuming. I mean, a run of beard oil is going to take 6 or 7 hours to make. So, yeah, it's tough to schedule in.
And do you kind of run it like a business, or do you just kind of do it for fun, or are you actually thinking about like unit economics and profit and all that kind of stuff?
No, I did. I ran the women's stuff as a business for a while, and actually, and I don't anymore. And it's not because it didn't work out. I actually couldn't. I sound like I'm tooting my own horn. I sound like an asshole, but I couldn't keep up with the demand, with the orders.
Oh, so arrogant.
I know, and it sucks because like it would have been a great side gig, but I just couldn't. I was ending up like missing stuff, and it wasn't good, so I didn't want to provide a bad level of customer service.
Right.
So I put it aside for now. If I get fired, I'll just do it again. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, hopefully that won't happen. No. Sounds like you're doing a great job at Kula Partners.
You know what? We had our employee review, and which is funny because you're supposed to have reviews. They call them air checks in radio all the time. Usually in bigger markets, the morning show gets air checked every single day. I don't think I was air checked once in my entire radio career, which isn't, it says more about my employers than me. But I had my review, and I was expecting them to say, well, you're nice to have around. You've got to work on this though. But they seemed pretty happy with me. So thanks, guys. Like I think maybe they just didn't want me to cry in front of them, but. No, I think I'm starting to get it now. So,
what was the biggest challenge with? Because you said you didn't really know, like you kind of had to learn inbound marketing on the job. So, what was like the biggest challenge of like, what the fuck am I doing?
There's like kind of two sides to even just what I do in my own role, and that's the actual content, the creation, and the promotion of the content, and all that. And then there's the data and the analytics, and finding out how those drive each other. And kind of learning all the pieces of the puzzle and how to really come up with a strategy, all the pieces that go into a marketing strategy and how they affect each other. So kind of just pulling all those pieces together. I understood them individually. Learning how they all work together was probably the biggest challenge. And I would come to my boss with, here I did this marketing strategy. And he'd be like, well, that's a strategy. It's not the strategy for this particular client, but, it's a strategy. So learning what works for clients individually and not just like an overarching theory. That was probably the biggest thing for me to learn.
Do you ever get any clients that, because it's easy enough to write about something you know and love and are passionate about, but if you get a client that sells, like, I don't know, whoopee cushions, or I just
whoopee
throw out a
cushions would
word.
be easy.
That would be easy, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah.
Yeah, cactuses. How do you write about cactuses?
Yeah, there have been some challenges. I've got a couple clients that are they're great, and it's stuff that I'm passionate about too. So it's quite easy. And then there are other clients where I'm dealing with pretty involved, like, scientific concepts and maybe financial stuff that I don't grasp right away. So it's more difficult. But
Scientific concepts. You're a hobby scientist.
I know, but like different scientific,
right? Not
about eyeshadow. I am wearing my own eyeshadow today. Yeah, I made this shit.
Looks great.
Thank you very much. So it's difficult, but it's good difficult because it means I get to learn something today. I get to go and research something for an hour that I had no idea what it was about, and then I get to write about it as if I've known it my whole life.
Yeah. Well, the hard part though is that when I remember we had a client. We used to run an agency called Headspace, and we had a client that sold blueberry juice. It was like organic. Remember that? Yes. And it was one thing to be like, okay, let's learn about how they harvest the wild blueberries and all that stuff. But then it's like, okay, how do you do a blog now about blueberries? Like, okay, there's recipes. There's, you know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to just know about a subject, but then how do you create something that's like actually going to attract visitors and turn them into buyers?
It's fun to try to put yourself into those people's headspaces. See, because there are some parallels between what I did before and what I do now. When you're, like I said before, people have so many options now for entertainment, and you see it especially in television. People are cutting the cable. They're saying goodbye to satellite and cable, and they don't want that. They want streaming on demand. And the same thing, is threatening terrestrial radio. So you got to figure out, what am I bringing of value that they're not getting from their iPod? And you have to create content, I'm using air quotes, to draw these people back in all the time. And you got to think, who is listening to me? So the people who were listening to my radio station weren't necessarily me, personality-wise. They were quite different, actually. So every day I had to put myself into their shoes and think, what do they find funny? What do they find interesting? What do they want to know about today? So it's that muscle in my brain to get quite a bit of exercise before I got into here. So, it's something that I have done before, not to the same extent and not with the same stakes, but something that I was a bit used to before, and I find it fascinating. I love to try to figure other people's inner brain workings out. It's great. Is that creepy? I have lie, and I like to figure out people's brain workings. I'm a serial killer.
That's wizard talk right there.
Yeah.
Man.
Cool.
Do you think that there's a place in, I assume most of what you're doing now is somewhat business-related content?
Yeah, a bit of it, yeah.
Okay. I mean, do you think that there's a place for comedy in actual inbound marketing strategy?
Absolutely, yeah. I have one client and they are a B2C for the most part, and everything that I do for them is B2C. And they have that voice. Like, what they sell is fun. They sell a fun product. And they sell a fun product to people locally, so it's not like you're not talking to people who are, far, far away, and you don't really know what they're all about. You can kind of figure out what the culture's like. And they use a lot of humor, and I got to do a campaign with them over the holidays that was hilarious. It was, it was a lot of jokey content, and I really liked doing that. That was fun. Yeah. I also used to be a legal researcher. I used to research case law and write briefs about specific points of law for specific cases.
There's no humor in that.
None. It is not at all funny. It's you have to parse huge rulings and writings from judges, Supreme Court judges. Who is less funny than a Supreme Court judge? Nobody. Nobody's less funny.
I don't even know who that is.
It's
probably not funny.
No good. So I did get some experience in figuring out kind of higher brow concepts there.
My only experience with judges is they always seem pissed.
Oh, yeah, they have to be.
Yeah.
They have to be.
I went to fight a parking ticket one time.
Did you?
No, it wasn't. It was a red light. Cop said I went through a red light. I totally didn't.
You didn't?
And I showed up. I actually had a broken foot. and I thought that would garner sympathy. I didn't, break my foot for the court case.
Didn't the judge? Didn't you kick your foot?
The cop did it. Yeah, no.
That's really funny.
And yeah, it turns out my witness was too crazy. That was why I lost the case.
Your witness was too crazy.
Because I went up there and I brought like somebody who was in the car who was kind of an acquaintance, and she just went crazy on the stand and started yelling like, "He didn't do it!" And the judge was like,
"Oh no, you got to keep your composure on the stand. Like you got to be real strong."
Yeah. So I had to pay that.
That sucks.
Crime I didn't commit.
Wow.
Injustice.
That is an injustice.
Yeah. Cool. Kevin,
Yes.
you're quiet over there.
I am, yeah. I'm enjoying this.
Good.
Come on, throw it at me. What do you got?
How has it been hard to? I know that it's heavily involved with HubSpot. How are you liking that? Are you involved in that at all, or are you
Yeah. I work a lot with HubSpot. A whole lot. I actually really like it. It's a very smart piece of software, and it's really cool because I'm trying to tie everything that I do now into what I did before, which I think is what you want.
Well,
so
it's whatever you want.
yeah, I thought it was all about you guys, not about me.
Oh,
yeah,
that's true.
You're contradicting yourself. Don't do that. So in radio, in smaller markets, they do the rating system, and it's all based on a diary. It's the BBM. And they send out a certain number of like literally paper things to random people in your market, and they say, please fill this out. If you do, we'll give you like $5 or something stupid like that. So very few people actually return them. And memory is not great. So maybe you listen to 3 different radio stations for a set amount of time each, but you only remember listening to one. That's the one you're going to write down. So your ratings are based on that, and it's quite heavily weighted in favor of legacy stations, even though, they're legacy stations for a reason. They're amazing. But, you might think of the station that's been around for 30 years before you think of one of the newer ones, and you might write them down. So, it's a very poor system of rating and of actually seeing who is listening and who is engaging with the content you're creating for the radio. And it doesn't mean a lot. It's not accurate or reliable data, but it makes and breaks people's careers. So, you get one person who forgets to write down that they listen to your show, and that translates into 200 people because of the way, the books are meant to represent the population of the market. So that sucked. It sucked really bad to know that everything was hanging in the balance with these ridiculous ways of measuring audience. They're just so outdated and so inaccurate. Now, what I do with HubSpot and with analytics and other tools, if I do something, I can see exactly what the effect is, which is so cool. It's really cool. It's really motivating too. So you do something, you send an email campaign or you put out a piece of content, or you optimize a page on your site, and you can see exactly how that's affecting the behavior of the people you're trying to engage with. And I think that is so cool. And it is what I was missing then, is I was putting all this effort out there into the void and never knowing, what worked and what didn't. Maybe somebody would say on Facebook, LOL, that was so funny, haha, but what does that mean for me? Not a lot. Yeah. It meant a lot. It was great when I heard from people who enjoyed the show. I loved that, but it didn't mean anything to my job, to the management, to the people that I was answering to. So now that it does, now that my effort equals numbers or percentages or conversions or something that is measurable, I really enjoy that, because I know that I'm not just sitting around spewing my voice into the ether, not actually accomplishing anything. Yeah,
and you can tie it even back to revenue too, which is really cool. For some businesses, you can tie I wrote this blog post that generated this much money.
Closed loop analytics, gentlemen,
as they say in the biz.
Yeah, no, it's cool. And the client I was mentioning before that I got to write a very humor-laced campaign for, the revenue generated was astounding. It was awesome. It was many, many, many times that they'd invested in this campaign, in the execution of it. So just knowing that something that I did resulted in that, it was super cool. I'd never
and fun to do in the process.
Yeah, I'd never experienced that before. It was mostly, we are ratings suck again for the 8th year in a row, so screw you.
I had no idea radio was actually that like old school, the way they track things. I figured that there was some way to
There are in bigger markets. They do PPM.
Oh, okay.
Which is if you agree to do it, you wear a little device that can pick up the radio station. So the actual frequency, it'll figure out what you're listening to. So if you walk into a store and they're playing like an easy listening station, it'll actually record that you are listening to that, and it'll count it toward the results. So you get a much better picture of who's listening to what at what times. Back here we don't. It's not a big enough market to implement that kind of technology. It's just, here's a book, please fill it out. Don't lie. Cool.
Yeah. I figured TV ratings must work the same way, right? Nielsen or whatever.
Yeah, they get the Nielsen families with the box. I don't know. I haven't had cable in years. I house sat for my mom recently, and she has cable. Fucking horrible.
It is bad.
It's horrible. I bought a house. Now I'm going to make a new bathroom in it. Or I'm getting married. This is me being an awful bitch for half an hour. Oh God, it's bad.
Or it's just the same like global TV show on like 8, for 8 different provinces, you know.
Man, it's bad.
I heard you're a dodgeball fan.
I do like dodgeball. Yeah. I didn't play the last season. I played for like 3.5 years, and then friends of mine started a new league. And don't get me wrong, it's amazing. It's like competitive. It uses the rules that are used in like the international dodgeball. There is an international dodgeball federation, by the way.
I don't
Friends
doubt it.
of mine have gone to Hong Kong to play in it. They made Team Canada. They're amazing. But they started this league, and I tried to join that league. And there were so many rules and like strategy. I'm like, guys, I joined dodgeball to get like just a moderate amount of exercise, so I'm just not completely on my ass all the time, and to jump around like an idiot and throw balls at my friends' heads. I can't do these rules, so I had to drop out of the league, and I'll join the recreational league.
To me, dodgeball is more of a sport than curling. What's this
Curling is
thing?
stupid.
I know.
My husband likes curling. He
it's
used to
awful.
curl. He'll argue that it's not a sport.
It's
it is
shuffleboard
sweeping.
on ice. It's just like...
It's sweeping. Like, if you think sweeping is a sport, then go sweep the fucking kitchen for once.
Well, Floyd, it was an honor and a privilege having you in. Thank you so much for being.
Thanks. I feel like I didn't talk that much about marketing. That's probably for the best, because I would have revealed how little I know. Yeah.
Well, a lot of the people who listen to the show are like agency owners or
Yep.
salespeople, and sometimes they often know about marketing. They just want to hear it from other people, have fun.
Yeah, it's been fun. I know a couple radio people who have, not necessarily in an agency environment, but have gone on to do like PR stuff. Or one girl I know, she went from being on the radio to doing promotions for the Coast, and now she's back in radio. I've known quite a few people to take that route. So I'm staying though. I'm in marketing for good. I love it. So it's the things that I miss about radio, the storytelling. Coming up with stuff, I get to do that, and it's a little more brainy too. No offense to my still in radio friends, but I mean, it's not that intelligent.
There's a point though that I think that we can draw from this, especially for agency owners, is that I've said this for a long time, that the best marketers did not take they didn't have an MBA in marketing,
Yeah,
right?
I certainly don't.
You know what I mean? Well, I know you took journalism, and there's a writing portion, but every marketer I know, the best ones I know, most of them are somewhat self-taught, or they kind of were trained in this, but then they kind of evolved and figured it out themselves. And I think those are the people you should be hiring.
It's the kind of career where so many things can contribute to your skill set, things that aren't necessarily about marketing. So, I mean, I thought that I was wildly unqualified for this job. I still think I am. I have no idea why they hired me. But,
We'll cut this bits out.
I'd been a legal researcher. I wrote all of my own script for the show, which is actually quite rare. A lot of radio jocks use prep services or rip and read from headlines. I never did that. I wrote all my own jokes. I wrote all my own bits. So I had the experience in writing. And, I went to computer camp when I was a kid, so I was into that kind of stuff. Just little bits from my background that kind of made it a little easier to transition into inbound marketing. And, of course, I had so many Twitter followers, so I knew about building an audience on social.
They hired you for your Twitter following.
Well, honestly, I got the job because I DM'd Carmen.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't even like apply. I did
That
eventually.
sounds dirty.
but
Direct message Carmen.
Yeah, I did.
I got the job
DM'd.
because I DM'd
Yeah.
Carmen.
Oh, yeah, that's really gross. I did not do that. No, let's not get that into the world.
What was your direct message to Carmen?
I don't even remember. It's like, hire me, please. Yeah, and we even arranged the interview via Twitter. Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't know. Maybe he just saw that I had managed to attract and retain several thousand followers and thought, hey, maybe she can do something with a lot of training and a few tears.
They would have been crazy to not hire you, Floyd.
Oh,
You're at Live Action Floyd on Twitter.
yes. Which I want to clarify for anyone local who's listening has actually nothing to do with my former employer. I've had that handle since 2008. It is a Drawn Together reference.
Drawn Together.
Drawn Together.
What is that?
Which is a animated show poking fun at reality television series. It's all these different stereotypes of cartoons, like the Betty Boop stereotype and like the dirty pig and then the superhero, all living together in a house, and it's done like Big Brother style. Very funny.
Nice.
But they have a live action cow that shows up once in a while. It's just an actual like cow, like a real cow that shows up in this animated world. Yeah.
So that's Live Action Floyd.
That's me.
That's where it came from.
Yeah, don't know why I even told you that.
You
story.
heard it
It's
here
not that
first,
interesting.
folks. Thank you so much, Floyd.
Thanks for having me. I gotta chug the rest of the cider now.
Chug a lug.
Yep. Cool. Bye.
Yeah, that's smart. Let me put it this way. Have you ever heard of Plato, Aristotle, Socrates? Yes. Morons. Red.
Looking for relationship advice from someone totally unqualified? Answering all of your anonymous questions. It's time for Ask Floyd on Live 105.
I love Thursdays. I love helping people, Chris.
You do. You're a generous soul.
There are so many people who need help and for some reason are asking me. Please, if you would, this week's question.
Dear Floyd, I have a first date scheduled with a girl this weekend. I think my best quality is probably my brain, unfortunately not my looks, LOL.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
So I was thinking I would take her to trivia night to show off my smarts. Should I do this, or is there another way to let her know I'm not your typical dumb guy?
Oh, no.
Thanks, Tim from Cole Harbor.
My, oh my, what a lucky lady. Are you taking her to Arby's before or after the trivia game? Here's some trivia for you. The average human head weighs 8 pounds, but that doesn't tell me how many times you've been deservedly punched in yours. You know, the sad thing is a lot of cool chicks worth dating would actually love to be taken to a date, trivia night, but not in the smug, hey, look at how smart I am way that you're proposing. But Floyd, you cry, there's nothing wrong with being proud of your intelligence. Fact! In fact, I wish more people valued intelligence over looks, or breast size, or how many hot dogs you can fit in your mouth without gagging or crying. I really do. I can do 7, by the way. But Tim, I think you just might be a raging douche. The giveaway? Describing literally everyone else but yourself as a typical dumb guy. Your low self-esteem is showing, and trying to make a girl like you by putting down all her other potential mates is just not the right way to go about things. You sound like a guy whose most reliable strategy for impressing a date is not showing up. You sound like a guy who plans on convincing his date that he's smart by convincing her that she's stupid. This is not a good way to get women. This is a good way to be forever alone. Just you and your neckbeard. Forever.